Alright, what's going on guys, it is A Spacey, and in this video I'm going to go over my concept of a sequel Trilogy Capital Supremacy game mode. And yeah, let's begin. I know I've been getting this requested a lot, so without further ado, let's get into this concept. So let's start off with the maps. Now I think the best maps for Capital Supremacy in Battlefront 2 would definitely be Star Killer Base, Taco Dana, and Crate. Star Killer, obviously, it's probably the most iconic and best map for the sequel era, so you can't really go wrong with that. It'll mainly be in the first phase of Galactic Assault, and you know, maybe we could have one command post near the second phase. For Taco Dana, I don't really know where we could place the command post. Definitely we would have to place one or maybe even two in or around Maz's Cantina. And yeah, that map would be good just because of more of the close range slash, you know, very tight combat, obviously, because there's a lot of trees, so there's not as much as open range combat. That would be interesting. And of course, Crate. Now this map, most of the command posts would have to be underneath the kind of flat land, because you can't really have one on the flat land, because then the sniper boys will obviously be able to go on a kill frenzy. But they could heavily modify the map, and what I think, you know, I would do in this case is just put a lot of damaged or destroyed ATM-6s, resistance speeders on the kind of flooring, just to make it so that the players have a lot more cover, and you know, they aren't going to have a higher chance of getting sniped. Then we can have a balance of command posts on the surface and in the ground. I would include Jakku, but it's probably the least favorite map of most Battlefront players, so I'm not going to include the map we have. However, if they were to make a completely new map, I would recommend we make one in the Super Star Destroyer that we could see. You know, during the Battle of Jakku, there's a Super Star Destroyer. If we could have a map inside it, I think it would be cool. It'd be an interesting concept to have that. But yeah, I really hope Episode 9 brings a lot of cool new planets that we can make great Capital Supremacy maps out, but we're just going to have to wait and see until the movie drops. Now, moving on to vehicles, for the First Order on each map, I'm pretty sure, except, you know, with the Jakku map I made as a concept, the First Order will get the First Order ATST, and on Star Killer Base, they can use the First Order Snow Speeders. And for the Resistance, there isn't really a lot of vehicles I can choose from. However, on Crate, they can use the Ski Speeders, and on Star Killer Base, they can use the stolen First Order Snow Speeders, but there isn't really any other vehicles I can pick from. Now, that's really it for vehicles. However, if the Resistance wins in Capital Supremacy, like the ground phase, then they can, you know, go in the Resistance transport, and if the First Order wins, they can obviously go in the First Order transport to each other's capital ships when you know, the first phase is complete and it transitions to the ground phase. Just again, another small detail. Now, moving on to Resistance heroes. Now, there are quite a bit of Resistance heroes to choose from, but the four I've picked would be Han, Leia, Rey, and of course Finn. Maybe that could change to Lando. Maybe Han could change like to Lando. I don't know. I didn't really see too much of Luke except in episode 8, so I'm not going to really include him. And for the First Order, we only at this time have Kylo Ren and Phasma, so not, again, a lot to choose from. Maybe they could add some future heroes in episode 9 when, you know, again, the movie drops. I hope they fill in more villains. But maybe they could add Snoke. Probably not, because it wouldn't really make too much sense. And I don't really think of any other heroes they could add. Maybe someone from Star Wars Resistance. Who knows? Well, let's move on to reinforcements. Now, moving on to reinforcements, I feel like for the Infiltrator class, the First Order could either pick between the First Order Executioner or the Praetorian Guard. I'm personally leaning more toward the Praetorian Guard because they have cooler melee weapons, but either could do. This would be obviously the first melee class reinforcement that we do get in Battlefront, so it would be a cool concept. You know, they would just, you know, their main weapon would just be close quarter combat. Maybe as a sidearm they could get a pistol or something, but yeah, their main weapon is just going to be something they can use at close range. And maybe this reinforcement could successfully counter lightsaber heroes. That would also be really cool. And yeah, the First Order could also get the Sith Trooper, but we don't really know too much about it, so I'm not going to really fill in the gap of what their role is currently in the Star Wars universe, so I'm going to speculate. But yeah, leave it down below. Do you guys think the Sith Trooper could be a cool reinforcement in Battlefront 2? I would love to hear your responses. But let's talk about the Resistance. Now, I really only have one Resistance reinforcement, and he's not even that cool. It's just a Resistance spy. I did say in my original Trilogy Capital Supremacy concept that we should use a Rebel spy. Resistance spy could also work. They would play as a stealth role, obviously, because a spy is more stealthy. So yeah, maybe they could have stuff like radar jammers or something to kind of disguise themselves more. Just make them make them off the grid type heroes, harder to track. But yeah, if you guys can also comment down ideas for resistance reinforcements, I'm open to suggestions to see what, EA and DICE could add. But let's move on to the capital ships. Off the first capital ship would be the Rebels MC-85 cruiser. I believe that's the right capital ship that the Resistance uses. For the hangars, similar to the Rebel hangar, it would just be really cluttered, because you could see in Last Jedi they had a more cluttered hangar, just like fighters like all piled around. So yeah, that would be really cool. So yeah, you just basically have a lot more cover, so it's harder for the enemy to shoot at you. But another cool small thing you could add is those like little walkways that, the pilots get into those fighters, the stairs connected to that like catwalk. Those would also be good sniping positions, and it can kind of give you a height advantage. Those would also be cool to add. But yeah, describing the rest of the ship, I feel like the Resistance ship would be similar to the Rebel cruiser, where it would just be, hallways, more white, more brighter colors. But the target they would have to take out is, again, their engines, just because, the engines would seem like the likely candidate. But moving on to the First Order, we should obviously get the First Order Resurgent class Star Destroyer. Their hangars are definitely more clean. However, you do have to make both ships like balanced in like kind of how you play in both of them. So I think the First Order would just have a bunch of transports neatly lined up, and you can use that as cover. But yeah, this First Order ship would obviously be way more gray and like less inviting, more gray, more official kind of in appearance. And we've seen the inside of a First Order Star Destroyer from the campaign DLC for Star Wars Battlefront 2, and I think we could even use the hyperspace generator room as this like critical system, so you could blow that up. Obviously just duplicate the rooms, put them on the opposite end of the ship. It looks vastly different from the other two critical systems that we have in Battlefront 2, meaning the, Providence class as well as the Republic Venator. So yeah, that would just be more interesting. But yeah, that's going to end it off for my video on the Resistance Capital Supremacy concept video. Let me know what you guys think of it. But do you think the sequel era Capital Supremacy could make it in Battlefront 2? And do you think it will be fun to play in? Let me know in the comments below. But Spacey, if you did enjoy the video, please leave a like, as it will support my channel. And yeah, if you want to see more of my videos, hit that subscribe button. But this has been Spacey. Peace out, everyone.